Hi friends, welcome back with a new amazing video from Rolling Movie Recaps. Today, I'm going to recap a 2021 action and thriller film titled Wrath of Man. The story begins with us witnessing a car belonging to the Fortico company with a lot of items inside. She rapidly turns the van on, assaulting some guys, and then she breaks the van's lock, allowing them to get out and quickly figure out all the money in the van. Gunshots erupted at that point, killing the guards as well as a few unwitting spectators. After some time has passed, we can see the Fortico company's plant. For this reason, we learn about this company, which is cash pro throughout the entire city. V-Day works like a bank, and wherever cash is needed, this organization distributes it safely and securely. However, when there's more money, the risk is also higher, so they should be cautious with their security. Some talented people are needed, so before adding anyone to his team, he obtains a lot of information about them and also takes their test. And Patrick's biodata is particularly impressive because he previously worked for Denta Agency. As a result, the corporation is willing to incorporate it, but only with caution. People here, however, wish to warn them about the dangers of this duty before adding it into their team, which is why it happened recently. Let's inform the battery about how some thugs murdered their 2 security guards in broad daylight, so risk will always be there in this job. But the battery doesn't seem to mind, so he just wants to join. Then a man named Bullet arrives, who's come to take a battery test. To acquire to work here, you have to get at least 70% numbers in this test, and you brought 70% numbers, thus your job is confirmed, the Bullet continues. The next day, Patrick reports to work for the first time. And it's here that Patrick meets his partner, Dave, and Patrick walks out on his first task with Dave, along with a bullet, so Dave alerts the battery along the road that the miscreants have taken the car. After his guards were robbed and killed, Dave was given the responsibility of going to that vehicle. They return to the company and their hearts stop beating, so they invite Bullet Battery to the canteen and tell them that the rule is that since they're new, they must come to the canteen and play with them. Patrick agrees to go to the canteen, but before leaving, he notices that everyone has ID cards, so he looks at all of them in a mysterious way and then reaches the canteen where everyone's together. Then a man approaches Patrick, attempting to misbehave with him, but Patrick taunts him, causing everyone to focus on that man. Starts laughing, and everyone realize he doesn't like to talk much, which piques people's interest in learning more about who this man is and where he came from. The next day, the group of Battery returned to the city with a large sum of money, and the Bullet walks inside to take the money elsewhere. Their car's parked outside, but when the Bullet doesn't return for a lengthy period of time, Dave calls him. However, the Bullet's phone is picked up by someone else, and he tells them to come here immediately, now with that automobile. Otherwise, these people will be hit by the Bullet, and it says that we must return to the safe house right now because we were advised to do so in such a circumstance, but it also adds that we should not. The Bullet's our companion, and we can't let him die at all, so both people take it to a place where they've forgotten it. Only then does a man emerge from his car, brandishing a gun at the head of the Bullet, and these people say that a vehicle parked behind your car all the money in order to take that place inside the car and let all here believe that throwing that cart among those under a money box. Patrick begins killing everyone one by one. Yet there's not a single wrinkle on his face, and it appears that this is Patrick's daily occupation. And he's not afraid of bullets at all. Patrick kills everyone here, but a man from his group starts running away and Patrick starts chasing him. After a while, Patrick kills him and asks him to tell him what he works for. The guy doesn't tell him anything, which enrages Patrick and he kills him as well. When Patrick returns to the agency, some members of the management team are sitting in front of him and they tell him that he only scored 70% in the test, but that what he did today was a 100%, that he didn't miss a single target, and that he shot all the miscreants in the head. Then he says he doesn't want to do a desk job and instead wants to work in the field, but no one listens to him and says, "The rule here is this." Only then do we see the CEO of the corporation come up to Patrick and say, "If you don't want to do a desk job, you can do this. Then you may proceed to the field where you'll be Terry's." They also state that if we choose this company's management, we'll be able to work in the field with the same enthusiasm as the other guards. Consider the people who call Agent King and tell him that the man who was just slain is named Patrick, and that if people like Patrick work for this agency, our money would be at risk. Bullet exits the car. Then Patrick exits the van through the rear door, and the thief flees as soon as he sees Patrick's face. And Bullet has no idea what's going on since he finally sees Patrick's face. Why is he fleeing as soon as the matter reaches the agency and Terry becomes aware of it? He's surprised, and he asks Patrick how those thieves caught you guys, and you guys had opened the gate, so they could have gone with all the money in a jiffy if they wanted, but why did people flee after seeing your face? And Patrick says that maybe today's a very good day for this company, which is why he's surprised. Patrick is pictured with his son, Dougie, with whom he spends his entire Sunday. Only after Patrick receives a call from one of his gang members does he realize he's a mobster with a problem that requires Patrick's assistance. As a result, Patrick will have to call them while on his way to the safe house to tell them of the arrival of the van. Patrick initially refuses to undertake this work, but eventually agrees because it will only take 2 minutes. Patrick only needs to make one phone call. That's why Patrick drives his son to the safe house and tells him to stay in the car till Patrick returns. He's just going to go have a burger. Patrick then drives to the burger shop. And as soon as he sees that van coming out of the house, he summons his gang members, and this van is the Fortico company, which is subsequently dropped by several goons after only a short distance. Then this guard tries to manipulate, and a man named Jane shoots both guards. Only then does he see the factory car inside, where he sees Diggy, and Jane feels compelled to intervene. It's because Diggy had seen him and believes he could pose a threat to Jane, so he pulls him out of the car and shoots him. Only then does Patrick arrive, and upon seeing this, he focuses his attention on Jane. When he starts rushing forward, Jane fires a barrage of bullets at Patrick, causing him to pass out and get severely injured. Everyone assumes Patrick's dead, and all the miscreants flee. And this is the same scenario that occurred at the start of the novel, after which we encounter Patrick, who is severely hurt and in the hospital. I was admitted because he'd received a lot of bullets and it was difficult for him to survive, but Patrick's still alive and he needs to avenge his son, so he contacts Agent King and says, "I just need to know the names of those who killed my son." And Agent King says, "I don't know anything about this, but I can give you a list that has the names of all the miscreants in the city. And surely some of them have done this work. Catch from and discover out whom the murderer is. Then one of the gangsters of the city are apprehended and killed, but they haven't located the dummy's murderer yet. They continue to murder individuals, and the factory eventually learns that they'll continue to do so. But because he'll never locate his son's killer, he daisies a new tactic, believes that someone from the Fortico must have met the crooks, and only then could they have robbed so much money so cheaply. When we see the same woman. The woman who gave Patrick that post-mortem report a short time ago has now given him a new name, a new passport, and new work experience, and she's created a profile for Patrick in which it stated that Patrick previously worked for Delta for 11 years, all in order for Patrick to get a job with Fortico. We've seen so far in the story that all the murderers have been slain, but many people are still hidden and not out. And all of these faces with these troublesome glances who ever want to go out, and then we see their leader, Jackson, and Jackson, people in front of us. People are unaware of Jackson's true identity, which is that he's formed his own gang and is robbing the city of a significant quantity of money. And Jackson's aware that all of his gang members are dissatisfied and want to do something, which is to steal. So Jackson tries to persuade everyone that we'll have to stay underground for a few more days, since they have to go because of the scandal these people generated in their prior position. And their man is now working for Fortico. So because Jackson's unwilling to steal anything, he tells everyone here to remain calm for a few days, after which they'll hit a large hand and time will pass as usual until Jackson appears and informs them that they'll be hit with the biggest hand of their lives. The business is being looted, and this time it was these individuals that plundered the business. The firm that they're planning is called Fortico, and the man in front of us who helped them before is the same Fortico who helped them before. When the company scene arrives, everyone here declares that ours is the best. There will be a lot of money and we'll all be in cash. We have a lot to be careful about because Black Friday is approaching. When we see Jackson, who is Jane K, has gone to the flat, and Jackson sees Jane as soon as he arrives. There are a lot of expensive stuff in this flat, including a very expensive bike, and as soon as Jackson notices all of this, he scolds him and says, "You probably don't realize what the implications can be." And now we have a good idea of how Jane Jackson seems. Jane, it turns out, is not a fan of Jackson. He used to be in the army, therefore no one understands him and he's perplexed. We have the potential to do anything at any time, and it's only then that we see Patrick and Bullets with big sums of money arriving at the corporation. In the meantime, Bullet tells Patrick, "I told you a secret," hinting that I'm a bit of an outcast. They always rob this car with my assistance, and they always give me my share shortly after the robbery's over. Yes, but the previous time something went wrong. The robbers assassinated the 2 guards. That's why we gave it to some unwitting victims as well. You're gonna plunder the entire corporation this time, and I'd like you to join me in that effort by listening to this again. Patrick asks, "What if I support you?" Bullet responds, "If you help me, you'll remain alive. If you do not, you will have to die again." Listening to Patrick relaxes you, and to go along with it, he agrees because he was able to track out his son's killer. To get there, Bullet parks his van in one spot and shoots. Some gang guys enter this van and sit inside with him. Patrick's hands were shackled at the same time because he still had them. Patrick's distrusted, so he brings the Bullet van into the firm where all the thieves emerge from that van, and that they aim guns at everyone. And then they tell individuals inside to open the safe door, and if they don't, the pills start running, and they'll have to open the door again. As soon as the door opens, all the people rush inside and bind Patrick's legs and those of his companions. Dave and Terry are also tied, and Jackson is one of them. He drives up in a large car and enters the company with all these folks. You begin stuffing money into that car, then have Patrick K. attack and murder a man. He later frees himself and assumes the appearance of that man. He recognizes who he's slain as soon as he sees the shape. But this isn't the Jane who killed his kid, so Patrick dresses up and begins striking them one by one. But he can't find the Jane who killed his son. So Patrick is progressively killing all of them. Then we see the one who begs Dave to stop since he didn't realize Bullet's a traitor. Dave hands him a gun, but Bullet Dave gets killed by the same pistol, along with several of his teammates. Check to discover if Jackson is seriously injured or attempting to flee the situation. Only Jane represents the death of all of his gang's other members, and these guys can't get out because Patrick won't let them, since he'd rather shoot at the bullets Patrick, hurting Patrick and then these 3 people. The only people who need to get out are Jackson, Bullet, and Jane. But Jane goes into the car and murders Jackson. Then he reappears. He tells Bullet that Jackson's already passed away. Then, in order to evade the cops, these 2 people flee the scene with a significant amount of money. Before arriving to a tunnel where they're placing all of their money into another car, these guys switch a lot of cars and, as a result, a lot of paths. Then we see the Bullet trying to get the gun out so he can kill Jane because he knows that it was Jane Jackson who hit, and if Jane gets a chance, he won't either. So he's taking out the gun. Then Jane will come there and say you're late, and after saying as much, he kills Bullet and all this money as soon as Bullet dies. Jane becomes the owner and then, taking all the money, arrives at there's a phone, and he spots Patrick seated in front as soon as he picks it up. It was kept in the bag so that if these guys ran, Patrick could inform them that they'd be apprehended, and now Patrick is asking Jane whether he wants me. You're starting to realize that I'm the same father who raised your child. He was brutally thrashed, and as soon as Jane learned about it, he got it. Later, Patrick gives his son's post-mortem report to Jane and says, "I want you to read it aloud then." The report is both read aloud and written in. It just so happens that the same places where Dougie was wounded, Patrick Jane was also shot. And Patrick fired a bunch of shots at Jane here, and Jane died right there. Then Patrick came out and grabbed the Agent King, and Patrick said, "Here, here, here. They've complete control over the company's funds. Give it back." And then Patrick exits after saying that. We hope you enjoyed our video today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to receive notifications of new and interesting videos.